Okay, now this is a continuation for our lesson yesterday. Here, today is Wednesday 22, we're talking about specific latent heat. We stopped at the heating curve. I wrote all of this, so you don't need to write anything here. It's already written. But now, let's revise what we did yesterday. Well, now when we are heating, let's say, cube of ice, if its temperature is negative, then you are heating it, then the temperature will start increasing. Then it becomes constant for a while because the ice is melting. If you keep heating, the temperature will start increasing after all of the ice melts. It will keep increasing, but not forever, up to the 100, the boiling point. If you keep heating and it's boiling, then water will start changing to vapor. Now here there is another change in state, and if you don't stop the heating, if you keep heating and the steam is still there, it's trapped, not spreaded in the air, it's still trapped, and now you still heat, so the temperature now increases more and more. Okay, the question is, in stages from A to B, C to D, E to F, in these three stages, am I using the heat energy? The answer is yes, I am using heat energy. The heat energy is used where it goes. احنا درسنا previously, we studied energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it changes from one form to another form. Here, I'm using heat energy. Where this heat energy is going, it's used to increase the kinetic energy of molecules. And this leads to increase in temperature. If I'm asking you, calculate this heat energy, the equation بتكون mc delta T. There are two equations or three equations for the thermal energy. في عندنا power times time, I can be used anywhere if power and time is given, خلاص. If not, we use mc delta T always when there is change in temperature. So in stage AB, in stage CD, in stage EF, we will use mc delta T. C is different from A to B, different than C to D, different than E to F. طبعا this number should be given to you. Well, change in temperature is different, but the equation is the same. We stopped here. The last thing I want to write it, but this was not in written, so you can continue with me. But the molecular PE, potential energy, stays constant. Okay. Now, what does the molecular potential energy is? Okay. The molecular potential energy, there is no calculation for this energy. It depends on the position of the molecules. If they are very close, then they have low potential energy. As they are going further apart, they have more potential energy. So the potential energy, the molecular potential energy in the solid or مش عارف شو بعت لي جعفر أستاذ مش راضي يدخلني أنا I don't have this مش عارف كيف بقدر أساعدك I don't know how to help you جعفر حبيبي
مش قابل يدخل على اللايف على أعزمه يعني
مش عارف إذا في طريقة
بقدر
ask him please
ماشي خلص عملت له انفايت
اوكي دخل اوكي طيب ركزوا معي هلا بنقول انا احاول دائما اضلني هيك اوكي بنقول the potential energy of the molecules in the solid state is constant. In the liquid state is different, but still constant. In the gaseous state, it's also different, but it's still another constant value. There will be no calculation here. I will not ask you to calculate this potential energy. Just I want you to know whether it's increasing, decreasing, or stays constant. In all of these stages, in stage AB, CD, EF, the potential energy stays constant. متفقين معي؟ Do you have any question before I erase the board?
كل ما يكونوا جراف يكون البوتنشال اقل.
Yes, yes.
يعني اكثر شيء بالستيم.
الجازز they have the most potential energy. Yes. Okay. Clear? Can I erase the board now? هذا already مكتوب بس الأحمر.
Yes.
It was not written. Okay. Now I want to talk about stages BC and DE. So in stages.
أستاذ جاوب.
لا ما تجيش دكتور.
أستاذ أستاذ في ناس بيطلعوا فيه قاعدين.
مين جعفر أنت؟
ما بعرف صرت فاي 3 مرات في ناس بيطلعوا طلع.
بويز بليز لا تلعبوش لأنه مش وقت لعب. إحنا we are studying. بويز أو جيرلز يعني بغض النظر.
ليش يكون بوي؟
ما تلعبوا بليز مش وقت اللعب. وباي ذا واي كل شيء بنقدر نعرفه من الادمن. فما تخلوناش نضطر نروح للادمن ونساله مين اللي عمل هيك. اوكي بلاش تعملوا قصه لحالكم. الادمن كان سي everything. حتى بيقدر يعرف مين دخل ومين طلع وباي ساعه دخل كله ببين. everything is recorded. فلا تعملوناش قصه. نعم يا حبيبي.
أستاذ أنا مش قابل باين عندي صورة إلك.
إذا بتروح عند صورتي حبيبي بتعمل بن لإلي.
عملت بن بتقابل برضه.
صدقني ما أنا عارف يا سيف.
كيف اطلع وارجع فوت سيف؟
جرب.
جربت 100 مرة يا زلمة.
تمام.
اسمع افتح من جهاز ثاني على التليفون ما ببين
تيمز كله. سيف اطلع من تيمز كله وارجع.
جرب يا
التليفون ما
حبيبي.
بيفتح التليفون ما بيفتح صورة.
يعني هي هاي البروبلمز دائما موجودة with everybody مرات
لا
بتكون
استاذ
ظابط.
هي بتصير سيف
بتصير.
اطلع من تيمز ارجع ادخل.
اوكي.
قشطة.
كلوز تيمز يا سيف هي طلع. فإن شاء الله بتزبط الأمور. طيب حبايبي ركزوا معي بليز. بنقول in stages B to C and D to E. In these two stages, am I heating? Abdul Karim, am I using the heat energy here? From B to C and C to D? Is the heater on?
Yes.
Yes, it is on.
دائما الحين كمان.
It is on بالضبط. بس أستاذ the temperature is not increasing. Why? They will ask you why. They will ask you explain what happens to the heat energy. الجواب بنقول the heat energy.
أستاذ ليش ما إحنا عم نقلل التمبريتشر بتروح من بي لسي يعني بتنزل.
لا من بي لسي هي حبيبي بنفس التمبريتشر. It was 0 and stays 0. It was 100 and stays 100.
شغال بس إنه ما تغير التمبريتشر.
بالضبط.
فكرت الإي بي.
هلا ما هي الفكرة. From B to C, the heater is on, but the temperature is not increasing.
And all the energy is converted to kinetic energy to.
لا. No.
لا أستاذ بيتحول molecular potential energy.
Wait, Wahib. Wait, let me give you the full answer for this question because this question is important question. It has at least 2 or 3 marks. They will ask you explain what happened to the heat energy. We say the heat energy is used to do two things. What? 2. And I will write them as a paragraph, but there are 2 points. 2. Break the bonds and separate molecules. Why do you say like this? Pay attention. We did not finish the answer, but this is part of the answer. I want just to explain this. You know, the heat energy is used to break the bonds. Why? Because in solid states, the bonds are very strong. If you want to change the solid to liquid state, there is no way to change solid state to liquid state while keeping the bonds the same. So we have to reduce the bonds because we know that in liquid, the bonds are weaker. So how do we do this? We need energy. So the energy is used first to break the bonds. Similarly, if it was liquid and you want to change it to gas, in liquid there are little bonds, weak bonds. In gas, no bonds at all. How you will remove the bonds? You need energy. So the heat energy is used first to break the bonds. Second, to separate the molecules, because in solid they are very close. In liquid they are a little bit close. In gas they are very far. How you can move very close to a little bit close or a little bit close to very far? You need energy. From where we get it? From the heat energy. So, if I'm asking you, explain what happens to the heat energy, you have to mention that the heat energy is used first to break the bonds, second to separate the molecules, but this is not an enough answer. You have to continue to change their state. Isn't why this happens? To change their state so the molecular potential energy increases, but the kinetic energy stays constant. So Abdul Karim, from A to F, all the way the heater is on. All the way I am supplying heat energy. But in certain stages, the heat energy is used in a way. In other stages, the heat energy is used in a different way.
صح.
Okay. In stage AB, there is no change in state. CD, no change in state.
change.
Not CD. EF, no change in state. All of these three, بنقول the heat energy is used to increase the kinetic energy, so the temperature is increasing.
صح.
But the potential energy, nothing happens. It stays.
لأنه constant temperature constant.
يعني الأيم تبع الهيت كان لمكان يعني كان إنه تخليهم أبعد من بعض في هاي المرحلة.
هذه لما يكون فينا change in state. يعني in AB و CD و EF there is no change in state. فالmolecules still they are in the same position. الbonds still the same. Okay, nothing happens to them. Nothing happened to the potential energy in stage AB, CD, and EF. But in stages BC and DE, the heater is on, but the temperature is not increasing. Why? This is the reason. Because the heat energy is used to break the bonds and separate the molecules to change the state, which means the potential energy is the one that is increasing, but the kinetic energy stays constant. إذا نعملها هيك، نعملها as a rule. If temperature increases 100%, kinetic energy increases 100%, potential energy stays constant. Okay? But if the temperature is constant, the kinetic energy is constant, the potential energy may, not necessarily, may be increasing if there is change in state. طبعا if there is no change in state خلص. إن هلا الروم هون الروم الاير in this room it's constant temperature، لا عم بتصير شوب ولا عم بتصير برد. فif it's the temperature is constant, then the kinetic energy is constant, then the potential energy is constant because there is no change in state. But if I am heating something, I'm boiling something, I'm melting something, okay? There is change in state. In this case, we say the potential energy is increasing. Is this clear?
هسه فهمت. يعني لما تكون التمبرتشر تضل نفسها ما في اي سبب للكينيتيك انرجي اصلا انها تزيد، لانه فيش انرجي كونفرجن عشان تصير كينيتيك.
Perfect.
انه التمبرتشر ما في
Perfect.
زياده بالليل.
Perfect.
Okay.
And the potential energy does not increase any time. Only it increases
في changes.
if there is change in state.
عشان بيكونوا بيبعدوا عن بعض فبتزيد البوتنشل.
Excellent. Now here, if I'm asking you calculate the heat energy used in BC, or calculate the heat energy used in DE, what is the equation?
Energy equals delta.
أيوة. إذن here energy equal delta M times L in these stages. Okay? Not MC delta T. If you use MC delta T it will be zero. لأنه there is no change in temperature. فرح تقول لي أستاذ الجواب زيرو. غلط. It's not zero. The heat energy is not zero. The heater is on. There is heat energy.
بالضبط.
بس how can I calculate it أستاذ؟ MC delta delta M times L. Delta M
عشان في
times.
change in state.
عشان there is change in state. Okay. Also we can use وليد. معنا وليد اليوم؟ معنا؟ إيش معنا اليوم وليد؟ اوكي امبارح وليد سألني أستاذ الباور تايمز تايم. بزبط. I can use power times time. If you know the power, if you know the time, برضو كمان it will give you the same answer.
هذا الباور تايمز تايم تزبط في اي كيس.
أيوة. Yes. Power times time give you the energy in general. Whatever the type of energy, the chemical energy, the electric, the light energy, anything. Power times time give you any type of energy. بس هلا إذا بقول لك calculate the heat energy ما بتقول لي half mv square. Heat energy MC delta T or ML. Which one you will use depends on the case. مش أنا جعبالي بقى أستاذ أستخدم هاي. لا. We will use E equal ML if there is change in state. We use MC delta T if there is no change in state, only there is increase أو حتى decrease in temperature. Okay? طيب. Moreover, خليكم معي شوي صغير. هلا. Now this is called heating curve. If I want to write cooling curve, ما في داعي تكتبوا. I will not write it in a good way. فدon't write it. Cooling curve. How it would look like.
يبلش من الشمال فوق.
بالضبط. هو بالضبط same idea, exact same idea. من هون. بس it starts from here. بصير هيك. بغض النظر where is the zero يعني الزيرو هون عملنا هيك. Okay. like this. Okay. فهذه هي point F. This is point E. This is point أو نعملها بنقول A و B و C و D و E و same idea. بس بدل ما نقول the heat energy is used, it's not used here. It's released. It's not used. It's released. هلا here it was breaking bonds. Now it's not breaking bonds because you are freezing the water or you are condensing the steam. So it's not breaking, building bonds. Not separate molecules, bringing the molecules closer to each other to change their state. So their potential energy مش increases إيش؟ decreases. Well, the kinetic energy stays the same. نفس الحكي بالضبط. Calculations exactly the same. So I don't want to write it because it's exactly the opposite. Instead of increasing, بتصير decreasing. Instead of being used, it becomes released. Instead of breaking bonds, it's building bonds. Instead of separating molecules, it's bringing molecules closer to each other. And that's it. Okay? So this is for the cooling curve. Now, if you remember with me, when we were studying types of energies, كتبت لكم إنه there are 10 types of energies. I think هيك كان النمبر 10. I believe that. إيش زي. Now we want to study.
10.
Okay. Now we want to put number 11. بس طبعا there is no calculation here. Okay. It's just only talking. We call it internal energy. إذا هاي note. نقول the internal internal energy is, it is what? Is the sum, it's the summation, it's the sum of molecular kinetic energy and potential energy of خلاص of molecules. بس
استاذ قصدك انه الانترنال انرجي هي التوتال
total of all kinetic and all potential of all molecules. The internal energy is the sum يعني total sum of molecular kinetic energy يعني kinetic energy of molecules and molecular potential energy so potential energy of molecules. Okay, طبعا there is no calculation here, but if I'm asking you from stage A to B, ركزوا في سؤالي, listen to my question. In stage A to B, is the internal energy increasing? Is it increasing?
يس
أستاذ
Yes. Reason? Because
لانه kinetic energy
because the molecular kinetic energy increases.
potential energy is
ما نحكيش عن potential. هلا from B to C, is the internal energy increasing?
yes
المفروض
Yes.
انه potential بتزيد.
بالضبط. Exactly. So is an internal energy may increase for two reasons, not only for one reason, for two reasons. Either because the kinetic energy is increasing or because potential energy is increasing. So from A to F, all the way the internal energy is increasing. But sometimes it's increasing because of a reason, other times it's increasing because of another reason. Okay? بالضبط. When there is change in state between potential energy is increasing, so internal is increasing. If there is increase in temperature, because internal energy is increasing because kinetic energy is increasing. Okay? طيب هلا قديش ساعة صارت؟ اوكي. طيب عندنا last thing I want to put the experiment. How do we find the specific latent heat of a fusion of ice? إذا نكتب هنا experiment. How to find the specific latent heat of ice. So you want to know the specific latent heat of ice. So you need some ice and
ممكن يكون ليبل الباور او لا فبيفرق الاكسبيرمنت
نفس الفكرة known أو not known. If known بيكون سهل, if not known بدنا we want to do the same process, ammeter or voltmeter. نفس الشيء. هلا here I want to get some ice and I don't want to measure the mass of the ice. ليش؟ لأنه E equal M times L. M
تعمل measure للمي.
it's the mass of the converted mass. And I want to measure the mass of water. So if you put beaker and there is ice inside it and there is water inside it, you can't measure the mass of the water alone. So I will not use beaker in this case. لكن the best thing is to use funnel. So I will have a funnel. Under the funnel, I will put a beaker. Inside the funnel, I will put some, not ice cubes يا جماعة, بنسميه crushed ice. This must be crushed ice. Why I need to use crushed ice? This is one of
عشان
the...
more surface area عشان يقدر يتسخن
most of the
فبصير عندك more converted mass.
هي الفكرة مش في more or less. هي الفكرة إنه if there is cube, there are cubes of ice, then there will be some air in between them. So when you put the heater inside, the heater will touch some of the cubes and will touch the air. So there will be heat, will be lost to the air, and the air is bad heat conductor. So your numbers will not be as accurate as possible. So you have to use crushed ice. I want a heater. This is the heater. Heater. أحسن نقول of known power. And as we said, if the power is not known, we have solution. Now, crushed ice. Again, you can put a meter. If the power is not known, you can put a meter, battery, and voltmeter to calculate the power. Okay, the crushed ice for two reasons. Why? Why do we use crushed ice? Two reasons. أول شيء, to remove air gaps between ice cubes. Okay, to increase the surface area in contact with the heater. Why? Again, not because we want to be faster, لا. We want just to make sure there is no heat being lost. So more surface area in contact with ice and no air gaps between ice cubes. This is why do we use crushed ice. Okay. Now, listen to my steps. Listen, I will write after I finish. انتبهوا please. Step 1, start the heater. Okay? Wait. Don't do anything. Yani start and just put your hand like this. Don't do anything. Don't start the stopwatch. Don't do anything. Just wait. Wait until water start dripping in the beaker at constant rate. Maybe if you switch on the heater, maybe one drop will fall, but then you wait for 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, nothing there. But then أستاذ another drop. But then 2 drops, but then no drops. Hey أستاذ كمان drop. Now this doesn't mean that ice is ready to melt. Ice is not at 0 degrees Celsius. When the ice starts dripping from the funnel at constant rate, then this means the ice is ready to melt. The ice is at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, then step number 1. Switch on the heater. Wait until water is dripping at constant rate. If they ask you why, the answer, to make sure. طبعا you don't need to write why and to make sure unless if the question is asking you. Steps خلاص, but switch on and wait until water is dripping out from the funnel at constant rate. To make sure or to ensure, خلاص صوت كاتب, make sure, to ensure نفس الشيء, to make sure that ice is at 0 degrees Celsius. To make sure that the ice is at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, step number 2, Now listen حبايبي. Now water is dripping in this beaker. I will not use this beaker. I will remove the beaker and I will get a new empty beaker of known mass. So I will have another beaker. When I want to start my stopwatch, now water is dripping at constant rate. I have my stopwatch in one hand. I have the beaker in the other hand. I will push this beaker away and put the new beaker, the empty beaker of known mass, under the funnel and start
عشان تاخذ converted mass.
اهدى. And start the stopwatch at the same time. يعني this beaker, the original beaker, I don't need it. I may let the water fall on the table. بعدين then you wipe it out. See. أو هيك يعني it's not just dripping anywhere. I don't want it. بس طبعا بنخاف تصير slippery وكذا حدا يوقع. فit's better to collect it on any beaker which is not the one that I will use in the experiment. When I'm ready, I get the beaker that I want to use. I'll push this beaker away. I'll put a new beaker. It looks the same, but this new beaker is empty, totally empty, and I know its mass. So I want to write this in step number 2. So step number 2. You know, bring a new empty beaker of known mass of known mass, start collecting water and start the stopwatch. بنقول simultaneously. Simultaneously means at the same instant. Both at the same instant. Okay? Now, if the power is unknown, you measure what? You measure current by ammeter, voltage by voltmeter. If known, you don't need them at all. Okay? Now step number 3, you decide. Stop the stopwatch or the heater and record the time. After how much you decide? After 1 minute, 2 minutes, you decide. Okay? Now use L equal power times time over ما كتبناش هون measure 3 هون نكمل هون sorry measure the total mass of beaker and water. Now use L equal power times time over M2 minus M1. So like this, you can find the latent heat of fusion. Remember, I did not use thermometer. Why? Because the temperature is not increasing. If you want to use thermometer, there will be no reading. The reading will be 0, but I don't care. It will not increase. So I will not need to know what is the temperature because here there is change in state. Okay? طيب. last thing, in this case, boys and girls, in this case, the latent heat will be less smaller than the actual one. يعني if we go to the lab now and we do this experiment, بيجوز يطلع معنا L equal 250. احنا we go to the internet نلاقي L equal أستاذ 340. طب why in the internet they write it like this بس احنا in our lab we get it 250. دايما we will get it slower مش higher, slower. Do you have a suggestion why?
أنا
تفضل عبد الرحمن.
يا هلا عشانها لور يا بيكون الماس اكثر.
طيب ليش الماس تكون أكثر؟
مثلا وانت بتبدل ما احكي لك ما بلشت التايم simultaneously بالضبط.
لا خليك على الماس.
فنقص صار فزاد الماس.
طب كيف بده يزيد الماس؟ كيف بده يزيد الماس؟
مور ماس بتطول لحتى ما
نو لأنه بالحقيقة هذا ايس. الايس will melt because of surrounding even if you don't have heater صح؟ there will be heat مش loss, heat gain from surrounding, so the mass that is melted is higher. عشان هيك it's better to insulate the funnel so that ice is melting only from the heater, not from heater and surrounding. Okay? But there is a problem here. إذا بنقول note
يعني الباور ما بتيجي بس من الهيتر، بتيجي من
ايوه في سراوندينج كمان. عشان هيك في كويستشن جابوه راح اجيب لكم احط لكم اياه ان شاء الله اليوم على التيمز او ماكسيمم بكره. And you will have some time to practice before Sunday about this. Sunday we'll have a class, but Sunday المساء بكون في عندنا امتحاننا احنا. ف Sunday we will continue solving the worksheet. I will send you the worksheet inshallah by today, maximum by tomorrow. I'll put it on the website تبع Teams. Okay. Note بنقول the obtained value for the specific latent heat of ice would be smaller than the actual value.
بتكون اكثر لانه اذا الباور اكثر معناته
ما بتكون اكثر، بتكون اقل. Why it's more؟ بنقول the reason due to some heat مش loss, heat gain from surrounding. There will be heat gain from surrounding. Which makes delta M higher than actual.
كيف بتغير الماس طيب؟
بيكون في more masses melted. يعني انت
ماشي بتقيسه بالاخر.
لا ماشي قسته. بس هذا الهيتر المفروض انه within 1 minute يعمل melting ل 20 جرامز، بس بالحقيقه الماس الملتد 30 جرامز not only 20. الريزن لانه there is heat gain.
كيف ضل نفس الباور؟
نفس الباور، نفس كل شيء.
يعمل ماس معين بس بيجي اكثر الماس.
بالضبط.
وبيجي انرجي اكثر بس بقلة تايم.
عشان ما بيجي انرجي اكثر. بيجي انرجي اكثر مش من الهيتر and from surrounding. يس.
فبقل الوقت انه يعمل ميلتنج.
ممكن بس بدهم احنا فيش عندنا وقت. احنا الوقت احنا وي ديسايد وات از ذا تايم. يعني عشان هيك شو بيعملوا؟ I'll show you this question later بالworksheet. I will show you how do they solve this problem. بس على كل which makes delta M higher than actual, so L is lower than the actual. Then what do we do to solve this? One of the solutions is to isolate the funnel so there will be no heat gain from surrounding, although this is very hard, but we try, okay? We try. Second problem, شوفوا طلعوا please. If the opening of the funnel here is large, maybe some cubes of ice will fall without being melted. So delta M will be higher. So delta M will be higher again. So this is another reason. عشان هيك شو بنعمل؟ اسمعوني please. We put like a gauze here. أيوة. We put it here at the neck of the funnel so that it allows water to fall but not ice pieces falling, okay? Yes, we may do another thing like this because it's already crushed ice, so maybe the pieces of ice are very little so that they are falling even before melting, and they melt only because of the water down. This is another problem, okay? So to solve this, two things: use insulation here, insulation, put a net or gauze or أي شيء هون at the neck to prevent ice pieces from falling into the beaker without being melted. Okay يا جماعة؟ طيب. هلا I will not write the other experiment because it's exactly the same. I will put it as a question in the worksheet. But if I'm asking you how to find the specific latent heat of, instead of ice, of water, of boiling water, of water, what do we do? Now, for water, you have to measure the mass of the steam. How can we measure the mass of the steam? No way, صح? It's very hard.
بالعكس.
Distillation.
لا ولا distillation ولا شيء. شو بنعمل؟ طلع حبيبي، ايش قلت بالعكس؟
قصدك انه رح ناخذ المسألة الووتر بعدين نطبخها.
ايوه. اذا شو بعمل؟ بجيب البيكر I put it under the balance.
زد الماس بالمي نفسه.
ايوه. Put the mass, put the water, put the heater. Start the heater. When water is boiling and bubbles appear at concentrate, you take what is mass 1 and you start the stopwatch. After you decide how much, after 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you stop the stopwatch and you take M2. M2 will be lower than M1. M1 is the mass. M1 is the mass of the beaker plus water plus heater plus everything. M2 is the mass of everything plus the remaining water. Where the water has been changed, it changed to steam. So when we take M1 minus M2, it will give you the mass of the steam. Okay? It's exactly the same process, but in the opposite way. Instead of being M2 minus M1, هلا بنقول M1 minus M2 because M1 is that.
بس كله ولا نخلي شوية مي؟
لا ما بتقدر كله يعني بجوز يصير الهيتر part of it inside the water, part of it inside the air, فبطلع غلط. فلازم يعني انت you decide certain time, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but not all water boils ولا all ice melts. لازم يكون لسه في still ice there ولسه في still water there. It's better for the accuracy. اوكي يا حبايبي؟
تمام.
طيب. Does anybody have a question before we finish this? Do you have a question? طيب. I will stop the recorder.